Thank you very much, and thank you all for coming. Great turnout. There's a couple of reasons why I'm here. First of all, being part of the Macy's culinary team and culinary council, I thought what a great way to have an afternoon to share with you my latest book, Kicked Up Sandwiches. It came out exactly a week ago, and it's been a lot of fun. The people that I have shared with, last week I launched it on Good Morning America, and then I was on The Chew and The View and The Rachel Show, and it's amazing to me how close, especially in America, how close sandwiches are to our culture, because it doesn't really matter what culture we come from. We all have some sort of sandwich memory that we can relate to. I certainly have a few of them, which I share in the book. Growing up in Fall River in Massachusetts, Portuguese descent, so and French Canadian, so I share those. But as I have been very fortunate to travel, not only in this country but in the world, there seems to always be a sandwich connection. No matter if you're in France or in Vietnam, there's this connection of a sandwich, a memory of a sandwich. And so I decided to take those memories, particularly of my own, and of course my culinary team, not only here in Orlando but also in New Orleans, and throughout our organization, and sort of poll what kind of sandwiches were some of the favorites. Today, very, very simple. We're doing a classic Monte Cristo, which those of you that have been around a little bit, it's hard to find a Monte Cristo these days. I mean, they used to be very popular 20 years ago on restaurant menus and on lunch counters and diners, and now you're hard pressed to really find a classic Monte Cristo anymore, at least done the right way. And then secondly, what I've been really surprised about in launching this book a week ago, but in all of the research, and particularly we did something really unique, and that is that we sort of went and found the best bloggers in the country, and some of you are in the room right now, but we went and found some of the best bloggers who are really into food, not just like great bloggers, but are really into food and really take it very seriously. And what we found out, as I have found out, not only this past week, but doing all the research for this great book, was how many families use a sandwich and a soup at least once a week as a dinner, and as dinner at home. It's fast, it's really as great of quality that you want to put into the sandwich and the soup, as well as it's very economical and practical, and certainly it's pretty easy for the kids to want to partake and participate in that. So first of all, I want to thank the bloggers. Secondly, I want to thank all of you, most importantly, for being here. And all right, let's get started, shall we? So the first sandwich, we need a batter. You can do this in a couple of different ways. And what I learned when I first learned the sandwich, of course, we used eggs, and so these days there's obviously allergies coming out the wazoo, and really and truly, actually my daughters just launched 2 weeks ago their first book on gluten-free cooking. So many people have celiac disease right now, it's mind-blowing. We have to make adjustments in the restaurant, which who would have thought about that 10 years ago, of doing like a gluten-free pizza or gluten-free dishes. But anyhow, so no eggs we're going to use. We're just going to use strictly a few different dry ingredients. And we can always add, and I will add, but flour, got to have a little seasoning in here, so salt, and then baking powder and baking soda. Totally optional. If you don't think that you're going to keep this more than a day, then you really don't have to use the baking soda. The baking powder I'm using because I want to get that little bit of poofiness that it's what it's going to do as a natural leavening agent. So we'll just sort of mix that up, and then I'm going to use a beer. You don't have to use a beer, you could use milk. I thought, hey, listen, Macy's is paying the bill today, why not splurge? Might use 2 beers, who knows? So the consistency of this should be really almost, as Greg was saying, we were talking earlier, Greg was saying, well, it's kind of like a good tempura batter, right? It should just about coat a spoon. It shouldn't be too thick, but it should be just a nice consistency. And you can always thin it out as you begin. Now, in the book, there's also a fabulous section for breads. Because I think when you think about sandwiches, right, it's not just about like ham and cheese. You know, it's not just about like bologna and cheese or bologna, although there's nothing wrong with a great baked bologna sandwich, I can tell you that. But really those components are the bread. And these days you have a lot of choices because there are so many great artisanal bakeries out there that are doing really, really awesome breads. So you can go that route, or you can go into the section that's in kicked up sandwiches, and there's a whole bread section from basic to wheat to multi-grain, pumpernickel, etc., if you want to choose to go that route and do your own bread. The other great section that's in there, and it's worth, I mean, of course it's great sandwiches, but is the condiment section. Spoon it up is also what we call it in there. Because we tell you about how taking really, really simple staples like mayonnaise, whether you buy it or whether you make it, and what you can do with them to really kick up your sandwiches. Something as simple as like ricotta cheese, which is on every supermarket shelf, and how you can sort of flavor those things to really sort of kick up your sandwiches. So anyhow, there's a whole book of condiments in there, and toppings and salad dressings, etc., that you should check out. That's really, really awesome. Third is obviously what are you putting in it? So whether it's a simple egg salad sandwich, which, believe it or not, was one of the almost #1 blogged sandwiches in this little thing that we did, which blew my mind because, I mean, I didn't think that egg salad would be that interesting to people, but when it goes to show me, when you have a great recipe, something as simple as egg salad done right and done to taste delicious, people are going to get excited about that. And then, of course, beside that, inside is what I was really talking about, is really the preparation. Whether you keep it simple, plain, whether you toast it, whether you griddle it, whether you griddle it on a machine, whether you griddle it on a stone. In this case, we're using our great sort of Macy's pot here, which is sort of a thing that we've done exclusive for them to sort of fry. We're doing it to fry the sandwich, believe it or not. You can griddle it, and if you want to do that, but there's nothing wrong with frying if you fry right, okay? The whole key of frying right is the temperature, okay? People out there think that frying, oh my God, I'm going to die, and my things and my nerves and this is going to all get clotted, and oh my goodness. And you know, if you fry bad, then you should talk like that. But if you fry right, you don't really have to worry, and it's all about really the temperature and how you do that. If you're going to fry on the stovetop, as we are today, as opposed to a fryer, you want to make sure that the oil is about 50% of the what I call the weight in the pot, because it's going to expand. Whether we put shrimp in there or catfish, or whether we're going to put a Monte Cristo in there, it's important that we sort of keep that together. All right, very simple innards. Good roast turkey, good ham. This is an uncured ham. Good American cheese, not that processed crap that's out there, and good American cheese, okay? Good ingredients make great food, make great sandwiches. Very, very simple condiments. So we have our bread, and basically for this, what we're going to do is we're going to take a little bit of mayonnaise, or as much as you like. Some people are not mayonnaise fans, that's okay. But we want to give, as I say in the book, the spread a chance to really sort of show itself. The other thing that I also like beside that is adding a little bit of mustard. This is a Dijon mustard. I don't think that you have to add a lot, but I think the combination of this really makes this to be a simple but yet delicious sandwich. And then from there, what we're going to do is we're going to start with the cheese first. And then we're going to start with the roast turkey. And you see, you know, just, there's also, as simple as a sandwich, there's also a technique that goes with this to make it work, to make it all stay together. It's not just throwing everything in between two slices of bread. If you want to do that, go on a fishing trip, or go on a, you know, on a picnic or that you don't really care about. And then we're going to take the ham and really just sort of layer that, and then we're going to come back with the top layer of cheese. As I said, what is very important for this particular sandwich is really pressing this. Pressing it is very important, and don't mind getting your hands dirty. Now, the key to the next thing is soft butter. It really, and particularly if you're going to griddle this as opposed to frying it. If you're going to griddle this, you really want to make sure that the butter is soft. It's not going to tear the bread up and shouldn't tear the bread up. And you want to make sure that you distribute it evenly, which is why you have a sandwich spreader, or you could use a good butter knife. Pressing it really, really good, as I said, is very key. And then, once it's pressed, then you can griddle it or fry it. With this particular thing, what we would do now is take it, dip it inside of our batter. Check your batter before you're going to do this. As you can see now, our batter has gotten thick as it's sitting there. It's just because it's relaxed. It's the way that it's going to do, which is what you can always add to thin it out, which is perfect. Now, a trick that Greg and I were just talking about, and Bernard, before I came out, was for this particular sandwich, it's really important that the proteins sort of solidify again. So we have the proteins, the meats, the cheese, that we've sort of relaxed as we have made the sandwiches, okay? But now what we want to do is we want to take those proteins, and you can either wrap them, so you can do it ahead of time, or we want to put them back in the refrigerator so that they really solidify. Because then what you want to be able to do is to be able to really just sort of dip that inside of the sandwich. And what you want to do then is we have got this out. We're going to just sort of pat this dry a little bit. I don't know if you ever had a Monte Cristo, but preserves or some sort of jam was always sort of a centerpiece, or a marmalade, whether you like raspberry, orange, whatever you like. The other thing was, I never could imagine why powdered sugar would be sprinkled on a sandwich like that. I could never figure that out. And then I figured out that the whole key to that is that if you did fry bad, the powdered sugar covered it up. And so you couldn't really, so look, you just, a little bit like that, and maybe another layer, sort of like this. Doesn't that look great? I can't sandwich right here at Mason's. Yeah, very simple.